Jack here, founder of Driver Management and author of the No Bull Series Guides to Getting a Local Driving Job and How to Hire a Good Truck Driver in the New Economy Job Market. And today we're going to cover the best way to write a truck driver resume. You're going to know what to do and what you need to avoid doing at all costs. But right from the beginning, it's important that you know that no one has ever gotten a job because of their resume alone. But plenty of people never made it to the interview because of their resume. That's why if you had applied to one of our jobs and you didn't get an interview, we sent you here. See, your resume, it's a tool, and it's a tool that we use to get the interview. And its goal and objective is simple, to get the person reviewing your resume to book an interview to ask you more questions. No one gets a good job without first interviewing. No interview, no job offer, no job and no money. Tough talk for tough times. And what that means to you is that you can count on hearing unvarnished, straight shooting, no bull truth from me. And if you listen and act on what you hear, I can't guarantee that you'll get a job tomorrow. But what I can guarantee are the odds of your resume busting free from the pack so you get the interview are going to be improved big time. Did you know that hiring managers, recruiters, and headhunters spend an average of 6 seconds looking at your resume before they make the decision fit or no fit on you? That's it. You get 6 seconds, squander them, and you're going to be dealing with frustration and disappointment, or your bills piling up and wondering why you can't find a job. If you use them wisely, you're going to be the driver that has the best job at a top company. You'll make good money. You'll be able to put money in the bank, and you and your family will get to go out and have some fun. Now, according to a recent study that used a scientific technique called eye tracking, they used it to analyze where and how long someone focuses when digesting a piece of information or completing a task. And you know what they found out? In the short time that's spent with your resume, the study shows that hiring managers, recruiters, and hunters will look at your name, your current title and company, your current position with its start and end dates, and the previous title and company, your previous position, start and end dates, and your education. And that's why we put together a facts-based resume. It's going to give these hiring managers, recruiters, and headhunters exactly what they need to know so that you get invited to the interview. So let's go ahead and dig in. But first, let's cover what not to do when writing your resume, because here are the mistakes that are going to cause your resume to be disqualified and screened out. And one is it's too generic, or it's too long. You've included political or religious affiliations. You have errors in spelling and grammars and dates of employment. Your accomplishments are not listed for each job, and your major skills are not listed. See, your resume is not designed to tell your life story. The most effective resumes are limited to 1 page and 2 pages max, and what they need to be is a summary of your work experience, your education, and most importantly, the accomplishments, because that's what's going to set you apart from the competition. So let's go ahead and set up a resume, and I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. We'll go through how to write a facts-based resume, and when I'm doing it, I'm going to explain to you what to do and why we're doing what we're doing. And what I'll be sharing with you, I learned with 10 years of trial and error. You know, having made more than a couple of spins around the block, there's no theory here. Just what's been proven to work from real-world experience in hiring thousands of truck drivers for hundreds of different companies. And all companies now have a piece of software called applicant tracking software. See, they use it to manage and select the candidates they invite to interviews. I mean, they had to. With all the people who are responding to jobs, it's the only way they can manage all the resumes. And if you don't know how applicant tracking software works, you're in for a long, hard road ahead, because your resume is not going to be coming up when they do a search, and you're not going to get invited to as many interviews. And with no interview, you're not going to get any job offer, and you're not going to make any money. See, applicant tracking software reads your resume, and then it puts it in a searchable format. And the software they read best is Microsoft Word, the 97-2000 doc format. So the first thing you're going to need to do is get Microsoft Word 97-2000, the doc format. Because if you use any other format, you're at the risk of your resume not being seen. And in this job market, you need every advantage you can get. It's just like putting gas in a diesel truck. I mean, it's fuel, but it's not fuel that's going to move your truck. And if you don't have Microsoft Word 97-2000, you better go get it, or your resume is going to sputter and stop working, just like using gas in a diesel truck. See, applicant tracking software works just like Google. and it will only show results based on keywords that are entered. So if you want your resume to come up in this software, the next thing you need to do is make sure you put the keywords that hiring managers, recruiters, and headhunters will use. And if you don't know what they are, you don't have to worry, because I do. And as we build your resume, I'll point out where you want to put them and what words to use so that your resume is search friendly. It'll come up on a search, and that way you'll have a better chance of being invited to the interview so you can get a job, start working, and finally collect a check. So the first thing we want to do for your resume is put your name. Put in big, bold type across the top. And if you have a nickname, make sure you include it. I remember a time when I was recruiting, it was for a specific driver. He had to have flatbed experience. He had to be certified in a Teledyne or piggyback forklift. Well, you know what? I had this perfect guy, and he went by this nickname, and he wasn't smart enough. He didn't put it on his resume. So when I called him for an interview, he returned my phone call promptly. But see, I was on the phone, and he left a message, and when I checked my messages, I didn't even recognize the name that he left. And we were in a rush to get this position filled, so I didn't return his phone call. But he kept calling me, and I didn't respond right away because I was busy setting up interviews. After all the interviews were set up, and I had this company taken care of, I finally returned the guy's phone call, and that's when I found out. This was the guy that I had been chasing down. I'd left him 3 messages, and you know what? He missed out on having that job because I didn't know who he was. If he just would have included his nickname, so I knew who was returning my phone call, he would have had the interview. So if you go by a nickname, you better make sure you put it on your resume, and here's how you want to do it. You want to put your first name, in parentheses, you want to put your nickname, and then you want to use your last name. Okay, now after we've got your name on your resume, we want to put where you live. And when putting your address, you only want to use the state and the city that you live in. You don't want to put your complete address, because there has been several times when the decision on being invited to an interview comes down to your address and where you live. See, many companies that I work for have problems with people. They're replacing those people because they're late every single day. And the hiring manager thinks maybe it's the distance they live from the terminal. In getting a job, you never know why people make the decisions they do. So when it comes to getting a job, leave nothing to chance. Just put your city and your state in, and you'll never be disqualified because of where you live. Now, we want to have a way for these people to contact us. When you're looking for a job, the number one way people contact you is through email. And if you don't have one, I don't know what to say to you. But if you do have an email address, what does it say about you? See, most job seekers, they don't realize how important their email address is because it says something about them. And if you use one of those strange or funny email addresses, and you know the ones that I'm talking about, you don't look as professional. See, you're not communicating with a friend here. You're talking to the person who has the ability to put money in your pocket. So if that's the case, doesn't it just make sense to use a professional email address? And what your email address needs to contain is your first name, your last name, and if that's already taken, add some numbers somewhere in there until you find one that's available. Be cute to your friends and family, but not a potential employer. Now, as we're on email, you need to also check it every single day. You need to check it once in the morning, and you need to check it once at night, because I've had companies disqualify applicants that I thought were the best people for the position because it took them so long to get back to me. You see, the thinking is, if it takes you that long to get back to someone, how important can the job be? Now, if they don't communicate with you via email, they'll be calling you. What you want to do is you want to put in your mobile phone number, because in today's high-tech, high-touch world, we expect people to be available when we call. When we do call, how you answer the phone makes all the difference. You know, the fastest way to be disqualified for a job is the way you answer your phone. I don't know about you, but most people and myself have all their friends and family programmed into their phones so you know who's calling when they call. And if you're in the hunt for a job and you don't know the number that's coming up on your caller ID, you better answer it professionally. There are so many times when I'm calling someone from their resume, they answer their phone in a rude, non-professional way. I mean, it absolutely amazes me. I have to remind them that they responded to a job and I'm calling them to put them to work, and then all of a sudden they're really nice to me. Now, what does that say? See, if you called a business and they answered the phone in a rude way, what would you do? See, you never get a second chance to make a good first impression. So be professional in the way that you answer your phone. Now that we have your header put together, let's format it. It's centered, it looks good, it stands out, and it's easy to read. And it'll make it easy for applicant tracking software to import your contact information into the right field so when your resume comes up, we can actually get a hold of you. We want to give you a title. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to customize this job title to the job posting that you're applying for. But make sure that you don't forget to put truck driver in your job title. And there's two reasons why we want to customize your job title. The first reason is you want to communicate in the same words that the company uses. See, in the trucking industry, there's several ways to describe a driver. I mean, do they refer to drivers as CDL drivers, Class A drivers, delivery drivers? You get my point. And what you want to do is you want to speak the same language as them because people like people who are like themselves. And if you speak the same language as them, you're perceived as being one of them. And you want that person reading your resume to see you in the role that they're hiring for. And the best way to do that is to speak their language. And the second reason is so your resume will come up when a hiring manager, recruiter, or headhunter is searching for someone in their applicant tracking software. See, your job title is always used when searching. Now let's cover your qualifications. Remember the 6 seconds you have of the hiring manager, recruiter, or headhunter's attention? You know, one of the things that they look for is your education. Well, in trucking, your education is your qualifications. Because after you get your commercial driver's license, you have all the education required for the job, but that's not to say that you're the most qualified for the job. So you're judged by the type of driving that you've done with your commercial license and how long you've done it. And first, you want to list the total years of driving experience because the longer that you've been driving, the better you look. The hard, cold facts are accidents happen, and they want to be avoided at all costs. It costs companies lots of money and lost productivity when their employees are injured. So the thinking here is the more experience you have doing something, the better you're at doing it. Next, what we want to do is answer the second most important question, and that's, do you have the endorsements needed to perform the job? Here, you want to list all of your endorsements, and when you do, don't just use the code. When you list your endorsements, use a combination of the DMV code and a written explanation of the codes like this. T would be doubles and tankers. N would be tank vehicle. H, hazardous material. X, combination of tank and vehicle and hazardous. P for passenger, and S for school bus. Because you never know who programmed their applicant tracking software. If you use both the code and the description, you can't go wrong because your endorsements are always part of their search. Next, let's talk about your DMV. And here's where you need to point out your driving record. If it's clean, clearly state that you have no points and no accidents. And if you do have any points or accidents, it's best to list them because it's going to be found out anyway. See, companies, they're all over the board on how many points that you can have or not have to be employed with them. But there's one thing that I know for sure, that you can never talk your way around this one. See, this requirement is usually set by the insurance company. And if you don't meet the requirements, you can't be insured. And if you can't be insured, you'll never have a chance for the job. Now for your most important part, and that's your work experience. And here's where you have the biggest chance of being disqualified or not being disqualified, by how you describe what you've done and how long you've done it. And here's what I mean. First, I'm going to cover the length of employment. Then we'll dive into describing what you've done. See, we're in a new economy job market. In 2008, the rules changed on all of us. And we've been in the worst job market since the Great Depression. At the time of writing this, 1 out of 7 people doesn't have a job, and about 37% of Americans are collecting some type of public assistance. I mean, it's tough out there, and in tough times, people have to make tough decisions. And one of the toughest decisions you can make is the level of honesty of the information you choose to put on your resume. And with so much at stake, it's tempting to exaggerate or embellish, and you'd be amazed at what people will do to get a job. The people who are responsible for hiring you, one of their toughest decisions they have to make is who are they going to hire? You see, their job is on the line every time they hire someone. And the last thing that they're going to do is hire someone that's going to make them look bad. So their BS detector is on high alert. So don't play games with the length of time that you were at a company. I mean, trust me, we know what's going on, and we understand that people have been let go due to no fault of their own, and that jobs sometimes don't last as long as they once did. What they will not understand or tolerate are people trying to BS them. So when listing the length of employment at a job, use the month and year you started and the month and year you ended. Anything else, just like listing the year you started and the year you ended, or how long you worked there with no start date or end date, is going to set off their BS detector just like an alarm. It reminds me of a TV show I used to watch when I was a little boy. It was called Lost in Space. And when the robot was in danger, it started flashing red lights. Its arms would flail around singing, "Danger, Will Robinson, danger." See, what you put on your resume says as much as what you don't put on it. So always be honest and upfront, or pay the price. No job and broke. Here's how we're going to list your experience. And what you're going to want to do is you want to list the business name and the dates of employment, the start month and year to the end month and year. Next, you're going to want to list the equipment operated and the size of trailer you pulled. See, companies, they have all different types of equipment that they use, and they want to know that you can operate it. So why don't you tell them? Was it a 2-axle trailer, a 3-axle trailer, a 10-wheeler, sleeper, whatever kind of equipment you use? Then what you want to do is list the size of trailer that you pulled. Was it doubles? Was it triples? Was it a 40 or a 48 or 53-foot dry van, a 40-foot, 48-foot, or 53-foot reefer, a flatbed, a low boy, drop deck trailers, or any combination of the trailer? You just want to let them know that you have experience in pulling trailers that'll be similar to theirs. And then you're going to want to list the industry that you worked in, like was it grocery, food delivery, was it building materials, general freight, construction, or so on. List the industry that you served. Next, we want to talk about the type of deliveries you did at that position. Were they route deliveries? Was it LTL? Did you pick up at a cross dock and deliver to a retail store? Was it a cross dock to a distributor, or cross dock to residential, or a job site, or any combination? You get my point. But let the people know what type of deliveries you've done. Next, you want to list your accomplishments. And this is, have you ever been awarded for any safety awards, accident-free, customer service, lower returns, on-time awards, anything like that? You want to list the awards that you won, or a way you saved the company money, something that sets you apart and shows that you'll contribute to the company's ability to be profitable, to show that you're a greater value than what you cost. See, companies are watching their bottom line. There's a lot of people to choose from. Remember, never exaggerate on your accomplishments. Never embellish or deceive. Tell the truth. See, companies, they're going to be doing background checks and employment verifications, and we'll find out. And if there's any discrepancies, you're out of the game, and all your hard work was nothing but a waste of time. Now what we want to do is go through those exact same steps and list them for every single job that you had. Now let's touch on the added benefits that you get with a facts-based resume in addition to the ones that we've already covered that will give you the advantage over most of the people that you're going to be competing for jobs right now. And the way that your job description is set up on your facts-based resume is the same format that you need to use when filling out a DoD application. The only thing is, you're just going to have to add a few things like the company phone number, your supervisor's name, and why you left. Now that's working smart and not hard, getting twice the use for the same effort. Now one more thing on filling out DOT applications. You know what? There's a lot of pages to them. I mean, hiring a truck driver is regulated by DOT and FMCSA, and there's things that need to be filled out and signed. And if they're not done, the company will be out of compliance and they'll be fined in a bid inspection. And the section that seems to be skipped more than any others is the last 7 days log. You see, it's required to be filled out whether you drove or you didn't. The point is, don't pull a rookie move and fill out your application for employment incorrectly. If there's a blank space on it, that means you need to put what they're asking for there. Now, enough said about that. Now that you have a facts-based resume, you need to get it in front of as many people as you can who are hiring as possible. And lucky for you, you know me. I've spent the last 10 years building relationships with hiring authorities of some of the country's largest and most respected companies, as well as the best smaller companies to work for. And if you want to give yourself the advantage of having your resume in front of them when they're hiring, All you have to do is work with me. Now, I just don't work with anybody. There's requirements. But if you get in, the dividends will pay huge. Now, before I get into those requirements, just imagine you have access to thousands of hiring managers, recruiters, and headhunters. You get the job you want at a good company. You're making great money. How different would your life be? And how different will your family's life be? And it all breaks down to a decision. And that's, you can keep doing the same thing everyone else is doing, thinking if you do it longer or faster than anyone else, you'll have an advantage. Well, how about taking that same effort and redirecting it to the actions that'll put you in front of hiring managers, recruiters, and headhunters the moment they're hiring someone with your skills and experience so you get hired faster. Or you can keep doing what you've been doing and you'll continue to have the same results. And you'll have that nagging in the back of your mind, asking yourself, what if? Now understand, I'm not here to waste your time or my time. The reason I did this training was to show you that I'm the real deal and I know what I'm talking about. I'm in this business. I'm in this industry. I do it every single day. And you know what? The job market's changed and you need to change how you go about looking for a job too. And here's what I mean. In the days of not long ago, if you wanted a job, all you did was go to the newspaper. They were there all in one place. We'll go there now and see how few jobs there are. I mean, it's depressing. And the reason is, who buys a paper nowadays? Why, when you can get all the news you want for free on the internet or sent straight to your phone? Technology has changed that industry. See, companies stopped using newspapers to find employees because there was a better way to find employees, and that was the job boards like Monster and Career Builder. And you know what? This worked for a while until job board software became cheap, and that industry started to change as well. You see, job boards started popping up everywhere for every industry, and with tens of thousands of job boards to choose from, how do you choose the right one, or should I say the right ones? Job boards, they're not cheap. A major job board will charge a company $400 for a job posting and $15,000 for a one-year license just to view your resume. It's expensive, and most companies, they don't have it in their budget. You have Google pay-per-click advertising, the Content Network, where they place ads on all those websites. I'm sure you've seen them everywhere. You have Facebook advertising and the newest job source, LinkedIn. Now you have to have a PhD on the internet and be a social media expert with a big pile of money just to offer someone a job. You know, a company could go through all that expense and all the time it takes to hire someone and still not make a good hire and have to do it all again. Now add that for the last 3 years, times have been tough and companies, they've had to run lean and mean. So what they did is they cut staff. And one of the first positions to go in the trucking industry was administrative staff that does the hiring and DOT compliance. I mean, companies weren't hiring, and by cutting that position and giving the DOT compliance duty to another employee, they were able to reduce their costs so they could get by too. With trucking on the upswing and turnover rates at 50% and more, trucking companies, third-party logistics carriers, and private fleets had to find a better way to keep up with demands of hiring and maintaining safe drivers. And the solution is to outsource it and guarantee the results for less than if they did it themselves. Remember that study I shared with you earlier that 40 to 60% of the jobs appear on the major job boards, but only 25% of the people who are hired come from the job boards? Well, it's companies like mine, Driver Management, that are filling the other 75% of the jobs. You know, one thing has changed forever, and it's the way companies fill jobs. The old adage, it's not what you know, but who you know, rings more true because the trucking industry is changing the way they find local truck drivers. See, right now I'm getting swamped with tons of jobs to fill, and I'm looking for good drivers to hire for my customers. I just don't work with anyone. See, my services are free to drivers. I'm not trying to sell someone who can't get a job a shit job. The companies that hire me are serious about hiring good DOT qualified drivers, and that's why they pay me the money they do. I make money just like you do, only when I deliver, and only when I put someone to work will the company pay me. Now that's fair. If I can't get you a job, I don't get paid. It evens the playing field. See, that way we're both working for the same outcome, and that's you being hired at a top company with the best pay rate, because the more money you make, the more money I make. So it's in my best interest to get you the highest pay possible. My time and my team's time is limited. We can't work with everyone. Plus, the private fleets and third-party logistics carriers and trucking companies that I hire for, they got some pretty high standards, and they should, because they offer top pay, with some great benefits package. Now, first off, I only provide companies with local drivers that are safe. So if you have a DMV printout with more than 2 points on it, you're not going to make it. It's best for us to part company. And here's the rest of our requirements. Minimum of 1 year of verifiable employment in light vehicle. Some companies will require more. Must be at least 23 years old. No previous history of suspension, revocation, or cancellation of any driving privilege as a result of a moving traffic violation or vehicular accident within the last 3 years. No history or conviction or forfeiture of bond for the following offenses while operating a motor vehicle. Under the influence of alcohol within the last 5 years or at any time while operating a commercial motor vehicle. Under the influence of drugs, leaving the scene of an accident, using a motor vehicle to commit a felony. We must make sure that you meet all the requirements in compliance with Section 391 of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations. We must have all items in your DQ file as stated in 391.51. You need to successfully pass a DOT reemployment drug screen. No evidence of more than one license currently held. Meet the applicable requirements of the commercial driver's license regulation and have that required endorsement to operate assigned equipment. No combination of 3 or more moving vehicles, convictions, or preventable accidents in the past 36 months. You'll have to pass a background check inclusive of criminal investigation. Now, if your driving record and background check meet the requirements we just covered, let's get down to business to getting you work. We hire for hundreds of different private fleets, third-party logistics carriers, and trucking companies. And at any time, we're working on up to 20 local driving jobs. See, our inventory of jobs changes daily, and the types of drivers that we hire are constantly changing depending on the needs of the hiring companies, which means that we're always looking for all different types of drivers with all different skill sets and all work experience. You name the freighter industry, we serve it, from transporting and setting up concerts to groceries to liquor to pet supplies to prevailing wage jobs, which means that you don't have to worry if the job's not a good fit because we always get new ones on a daily basis. And the trucking industry moves fast, and so do we. So if you want to expand your reach and have access to more jobs than the ones on the major job boards and use my contacts to prove it to private jobs that are nowhere else, here's what'll happen. My team and I, we handpick our drivers. It's the only way that we can keep our reputation. See, we've been providing the best drivers to the best companies. We respect the profession of truck driving. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to create a fax-based resume like I showed you. And after you complete it, you need to email it to me at rob@thetransportationguys. And once we get it, here's what we're going to do. We'll review your resume to see if you qualify for any of the companies we're hiring for. And if you don't, we'll let you know. And if you do, we'll call you to set up a phone interview. After we get all that done, what we do is we create a profile, and we're going to match your skills and experience to the company's requirements that we hire for. Now, most drivers will qualify for more than one company, which means that you'll have an increased chances of being hired when you work with us. Then your profile will be presented to the hiring manager along with 3 other people. And we'll discuss the 4 candidates, and with that hiring manager, that person's going to decide who they want to interview. If you're invited to the interview, we'll call you to set it up. And if you didn't get chosen for the interview, we'll call you and let you know. And then we repeat the process until you get hired. And if you think you're tops in your field, go ahead, submit your resume to us now. We'll be in touch with you and help you get to work faster.